I'll tell you what, we are back on the ice consistently. I know that this weekend and the last couple days have maybe thrown a curveball into things in terms of the weather. We're going to talk about that, make sure we're on the same page. Before we jump into that, I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas last week. I know I did with my family. Got a lot of family time in, had a lot of fun, got to see all the relatives, the grandparents, all the good stuff. Ate way too much food, I'll be honest. I probably shouldn't eat until middle of January at this point, but I'm going to. And then hopefully you all have a wonderful New Year's Eve and finish off 2024 strong. And 2025 is knocking on our door. In fact, the next time we talk, it's going to be 2025, which is crazy to think. We're getting after it. Things are happening. This is super fun. I'm super excited about this next chapter in my life, in my fishing journey, where I'm going to be doing this full time. Going to be guiding, going to be doing all that kind of stuff. Super excited. So that being said, if you do want to get on the ice, look me up. Happy to get you on some fish, learn a whole bunch of things. That's my premise. That's my push, is to educate, is to teach. I'm going to feed you on the ice as well. So a bunch of you have been poking fun at me the last few days about the food I've been posting and saying, do we get that when we go fishing? Yes, I cook brats. I cook food for everyone that comes ice fishing with me. Everyone knows that. That's just what I like to do. Let's jump into how the fishing's been this past week. We had some cold weather at the beginning of last week. We had some snow that came through. We had plowable snow, inches of snow leading up into that last weekend. And it made things kind of level playing field on the ice. The week prior to that, as we talked about, these fish were hyper-focused, or hyper speed, I should say. They were flying everywhere. Staying on top of them with my active target was tough. I had to back off. I had to slow down. I had to get into the area I knew these fish were, and I had to just go fishing. And that's where I grabbed the MarCum, and I got after it, and I chased down these fish, and we caught them. Now we got the snow, and we have fish starting to slow down a little bit, starting to relate to more of their winter spots. We had ice conditions jumping into 9-10 inches of ice. I found even 11 inches on some of the lakes I fished this past week. So things were starting to acclimate into what you would consider a normal ice fishing season. And the fish kind of followed suit. A lot of these fish this last week were holding on spots. They weren't flying as much. Now, if you want to go chase down the basin crappie bite, you're going to have to work. That is how it is from early ice until late ice. A lot of these basin fish are going to move. They're nomadic. There's no structure. There's nothing to hold them there. They can be some of the larger fish in the system, but they're going to move. If you watch the Crappie Chronicles at all, you're going to notice right away that they're constantly moving. And they're trying to catch the biggest fish in the system. That is their goal. That is their target. They're trying to catch the biggest fish in the system. And oftentimes that's the name of the game if that's what you're looking to do, is you have to be mobile. You have to be active. You have to think one step ahead of these fish. Now, if you're looking to get out there and catch them and have a good time and lean and put a lot of bends in the rod, now there's some things you can do differently. You can target structure. You can target weed lines. You can target edges of these basins. You can target inside turns, humps, reefs. I think you understand the structure side of things. So start looking at your lake map, looking at your Navionics, looking at your OnX, looking at all these different opportunities, and figure out where these fish want to be sitting. You understand the fish are living here. Now, where are they stopping to rest? That's the stuff you want to look at if you want to put up the fish trap, set up the hub house, sit on top of these fish. And those are things I've been doing as a guide, is I'm trying to find productive areas where people can just catch fish, sort through a bunch of them. In the world we live in here in the Twin Cities, the metro, we call it the metro panfish. Yes, there's a lot of 6 to 9 inch crappies. There's a lot of 5 to 7 inch bluegills, but there's also a pretty darn good population of 9 to 12 inch crappies and a pretty good population of 7 to 8.5 or 9 inch bluegills. Sometimes you have to sort through them and weed through them. Sometimes you have to think a little differently to get those fish to bite. Now, here in the Twin Cities, I'll tell you one thing. A lot of our better sized fish are going to be relating to some type of structure or weeds, generally speaking. Now, this is taking out the basin bite, taking out the nomadic cruisers. You're looking for something to draw these fish in. Weeds are a big one here in the Twin Cities. And sometimes I'm talking 5, 6, 7, 8 feet of water in the dead of winter. If you have green weeds, you have all kinds of things to draw on the fish you want to catch. You have bait, you have cover, you have sanctuary, you have insects, you have oxygen, you have all kinds of things to just bring fish in, to hold fish there throughout the entire winter season. We oftentimes drive right past some of these best fishing spots. Don't do it. get out the auger, cut some holes, grab your underwater camera, drop it in the weeds, pan around. I think you'll be surprised with some time what you find living in there. So what we've done this last week, a lot of fish in 10 to 15 feet of water. We found some fish in 20, 25, 30 feet of water. Don't get me wrong. Those fish out there are there. They're doing their thing. But we've been targeting more of that 10 to 15 foot, that weed line, weed transition, sparse weeds, looking for anything abrupt or different as I'm meandering through this piece of structure. And that's where we've caught a lot of our fish. Before we jump into what's working, let's talk ice conditions, because that's been a hot question with this foggy, misty day again today here on Sunday. It was raining yesterday morning. It poured on us on Friday when we were out with the Clam team. Here's what happened. The silver lining in that snow we got a week ago was that snow needed to melt first before the water or the rain really pounded down in that ice. So what I've seen in the last couple of days is we did not lose a ton of ice. I say that though weirdly because every lake's different. Do your due diligence, check for yourself, and make sure things are safe. Now, we left the ice this weekend here with 10 inches still on the lakes we fished. But I had reports of guys and gals telling me there was 6 on some lakes. I heard some people tell me 11 and 12 on some lakes, and there were small vehicles driving out this weekend. I would not advise that, not around here anyway, but that's what I'm hearing. But I'm going to check for myself. Those things are important. The other thing you want to think about is when we get this kind of precipitation and rain, what happens is usually areas where water runs into the lake, that ice can be compromised. So you want to pay attention to how you're getting on the lake. The ice 30 yards out is generally going to be stronger than the ice against the bank when we get these warmer, rainy days, because that water is going to run in, it's going to heat up that area around the lake, it's going to draw on some moisture, it's going to draw on some flow, and it's going to deteriorate some of that ice. So pay attention, especially at access points where water has places to run down. Pay attention to that sort of stuff to make sure you don't get yourself in a pickle. So I'm going to be checking the ice a lot this week. We got another warm day, I think, tomorrow. And then I looked at 20s for highs. I think I saw single digits for lows later this week. So by next weekend, we're going to be rock solid, running around wherever we want again. Hopefully we get a little more snow because, again, we're back to those hyper-speed fish. No snow, a lot of light coming through. I want a little snow on the ice. I think it helps us in the world of ice fishing. So that's what we're looking at. Get a good set of spikes, super important. I wear a pair of Catulas, and I say this, I kind of shrugged a bit because definitely the fish shy away from spikes. They can hear, they do that kind of stuff, but I also don't want to bust an elbow, crack a head open, or get hurt on the ice. So a lot of times with my clients, I have them put these spikes on, these ice cleats, and if we're in a zone where we know the fish are and we're comfortable with our surroundings, we might pull them off and we might walk around and kind of gingerly slide. But yes, the fish can definitely hear those. That question gets asked often, but for me, I'd rather not break a bone and have a pair of cleats on than maybe miss a few fish or a couple opportunities. So be your own judgment there. What are we using to catch our fish? Pinhead Pros are dominating my bite again this year. I hate sounding like a broken record. It just flat out works. If you look at my cage here, I got 8 rods rigged up. 5 of them have Pinhead Pros for my clients. I got some tungsten, some plastic, some other things. I'm going to show you 2 rods here where I'm fishing Pinhead Pros. I got a 32nd ounce Wonder Bread Chartreuse, Wonder Bread White, Wonder Bread Pink, 32nd ounce. I'm tying direct. A lot of people ask me, I take that snap off of that spoon. I tie direct. I'm using a 30-inch, or this is a 34-inch straight drop noodle rod. This is a $30 rod. I think for the money, it's phenomenal. I put that new Spooler Elite in that gray color. I think it looks sweet. And I got some 3-pound Frost red metered monofilament. That's been my workhorse. You've probably seen some videos the last couple days of me catching crappies. I probably had this rod in my hand, this exact rod. The other one I've been using the last couple days is the new Jason Mitchell meat stick. We went with that lapis blank, which is like super durable. It's not your typical meat stick that I've had people complain to me about where maybe the tips are breaking. I've put this thing through an absolute ringer the last 72 hours trying to see if I can get it to break or something, and I can't. This is like the ugly stick of ice rods. So this is the brand new Mitchell meat stick with that lapis blank, and I went to a 16th ounce Pinhead Pro on this, gold 16th ounce Pinhead Pro, a little more stout of a rod, loads up a little differently. I went a little heavier on a spoon. I love that color of that new spooler. And I went with 3-pound gold Frost, solid mono on this one. This has kind of been my 1-2 punch on the Pinhead Pro the last few days. And then I'm fishing tungsten. I put on a confetti drop, black and chartreuse XL, and I went XL because I'm fishing this with plastics. I'm fishing this with the Soldier. I'm fishing this with the Twitch, you know, new plastics from Niku, and I'm fishing that larger shank hook. That's where that XL comes into play. So black chartreuse, XL hook, gives you a lot more hook gap, a lot more versatility on fishing soft plastics, whether it's Niku, whether it's Mackie. And I'm actually using, on this, I'm using the Griff Chronicle from Thorne Brothers. I love this rod. I've got to play with this now for a year or so. I think Griff nailed it with this. I put a schoolie on it. Stuart, my buddy at Ace, makes these little custom knobs that I popped on there. And this has got a nice little spring bobber action. So close to the hole, a lot of sensitivity, a lot of good play. I'm putting 3-pound test monofilament on this as well. And between those 3 setups, I've been able to do a lot of damage on the panfish the last few days, and I plan to use these as well. I do have a Tika flash rigged up down there. I have a drop kick rigged up down there. We have drop kicks rigged up in here. I have some standard drops. I have an 1/8 ounce Pinhead Pro rigged up if I need to get down and dirty on maybe some larger fish. So kind of a versatile option here. Clam Pro Tackle makes about everything you could think of for ice fishing in terms of jigs, spoons, plastics. Super excited to get some more fish going this week. So that's what we're dealing with. Dress warm. I threw on my Blackfish Stormskin Gale a lot the last few days. You probably saw me wearing it. It's right there drying off from another day of battle today. So it's waterproof. I'm not out there in a soaker, although it rained pretty hard on Friday and I stayed pretty darn dry. But I had that on quite a bit. And yeah, away we go. So chasing down more fish this week, gonna plan to maybe diversify a little bit, maybe fish Minnetonka a little bit, and a lot of you have asked about that. Do that. I'm gonna go up north again, and then we have our first UPL event next week, and a week from today, believe it or not, UPL kicks off. So make sure you follow along on the Ultimate Panfish League Facebook page 1 week from today as we go live, as Thaner will be out there with me doing things, having fun with everybody, and we're gonna have a great time. So let's get out there, have some fun, be safe on the ice, and again, have a wonderful end of your 2024, and we'll come back at you in 2025.